Fran Brochstein. I went to South Texas College of Law. I went when my daughter was 9 months old, and the oil and gas industry had crashed in Houston, Texas, and my husband and I lost everything, and I thought about getting an MBA, and they said, well, you have to pick up a whole nother undergraduate year. So I said, well, hell, I might as well go to law school and become a lawyer for that. So I did, and it was really a great thing. That marriage fell apart in law school, and I actually divorced at the end of law school. But I would come home at night and see my baby in the bed going, I've got to go study, because I had to support myself and this kid. So it was, we went to law school together, really. And for her, when I graduated, I thought we'd go on a trip, so we went to Disney World for a week and had a great time. She's graduating from college with honors. She just graduated, so we're going to go to Europe this summer. I do family law, didn't mean to, but I was self-employed, and that's all that came in the door. So I originally had been at Houston Volunteer Lawyers for about 4 or 5 years, and I was their AIDS project coordinator. And all of my clients at that time in the 80s died. And after about 5 years, I just burned out and had to leave. So I learned to ask a whole lot of questions. And when people would call Houston Volunteer Lawyers, they never said, oh, I have a tort. They would start telling me about the dog and then the fence and the tree that on the neighbor's yard. And so I always had to figure out what the problem was they were really complaining about. So I've always listened to the story. The people always have to tell you the story. And a lot of what I did working with people that were about to die is I mainly could listen to them, because there was nothing I could do to really solve most of their problems. And so I found that listening was vitally important. And learning to speak in English. When I got out of law school, I didn't want to use big words. I purposely always tried to teach myself after I got out of law school how to speak English to people. And I really like attorneys that just talk to people. I came to law school after having a business that went down the tubes, and I had a lot of empathy for people. And so a lot of what I've always done is listen to people and find out what they want. Because as I still am doing divorce law, I always go, I come from a business background. And I always balance cost versus benefit. If I'm going to charge you $1,000, but I'm only going to get you $500, what good have I done you? So I've always come from that background. And I also really work at not doing what I want. I do what the client wants, because they're the boss. Well, I had known about IAHL for a while and kind of watched it on the internet and visited several holistic legal sites, but didn't join any of them. And then in 2003, I got breast cancer and didn't work for a year. And during that time, was very ill and pondered my life and recognized that the world was going to go on with or without me. And that I had raised my daughter. I was very happy with where she was in her life. She was getting ready to go to college. And I had accomplished a lot in my life that I wanted. That one of my major things was raising her and getting her successful and doing well and getting her to college. So then I really didn't want to come back to practice law. I'd been working 6, 7 days a week, solo practitioner. I was in court all the time, and I cared more about my clients' cases than they did, and about their lives and their children. And I worried about their children a lot. I had had some cases with suicidal children, and that really upset me, where I was more concerned about the kids than their parents. Their parents just wanted to point fingers at each other and fight, and they didn't care if they hurt the kids. And so when I came back, I decided to take a lot of mediation training, and I'd already taken collaborative law training, and I felt compelled that there was something else out there. And I wasn't sure what it was, but I knew collaborative law was not going to be appropriate. I deal a lot with middle income to lower income people, and collaborative law is way too expensive for those folks. I think collaborative law is brilliant for upper middle class or wealthy people. because it really does save them a lot of money. But I've always dealt with people's feelings, because that's what drives family law, and that's what drives most contested probate cases, is unresolved feelings. So, and pointing fingers. And so when I came back, that's what I decided to do. And I was working for a lady, and we eventually separated because I would pray with clients, and that really bothered her. And I've represented a lot of people from very little strange churches in Texas that kind of find me. And because I'm not upset to pray with them, if that's where they're coming from and they mention God to me first, then I will go there with them. Once I started walking down that path, I believe I have to jump in with both feet. And so I felt I had to go to the conference in California. And when I got there, it was wonderful. I was going, I'm not the only person that prays before I go to court. I have always prayed during all my cases, that I just do the right thing. Not necessarily that I win or lose, but that it's the right thing for this person, and that I do the very best to my ability. And so what I wanted to do was mesh some of my personal beliefs with the practice of law, which I was trying to keep them separate, but they kept coming together. So now I really feel like I could put them together. Holistic law for me is putting my ego aside and walking the journey with my client. Now, I do screen my clients carefully, because if someone comes in and says, I just want to spend a fortune and hurt my spouse, they're not going to be a client for me. Because I believed, as I say to everyone that comes to my office, the day you got married, you never thought you'd be coming to see a divorce lawyer. And I said, I'm here to deal with the death of your marriage. And at most parts, that's when people start crying. And I do represent a lot of men. And I explained to them that, it's so interesting to me, I've known in the office for making all these guys cry. I never set out to do that, but I ask them how they feel, and then I'm quiet. And it's amazing what comes out. The pain, and that most of these guys married the love of their life, and they don't want the divorce. And it's very interesting. And so I say to the client, this is your journey. I'm here to go with you on your journey. And eventually, you will go on without me. And hopefully, in 2 or 3 years, you will look back and you will be better. I'm here to protect you, and I look long term. I don't look, many of the people that come to me just want the pain to end, and they want it to go away. What they haven't realized is getting the divorce will not end the pain. And so I try to look at long term. I had 2 marriages end, so I obviously, have had a lot of different emotions, and unfortunately have been a lot of divorces in my family. So my parents divorced after 42 years of a miserable marriage. And I was in my 30s and an attorney and a mother, and it was absolutely horrible. My sister and I cried and cried. And so I don't care how old you are, you can be 3, 13, 23, or 33. When your parents divorce, it's a horrible experience. And I try to explain that to people about how hard divorce is on their kids. Well, one of my heroes is my dad. He was probably the brightest man I've ever known. He was an associate professor at University of Houston. And he instilled in me a lot of my beliefs. The importance of religion, the importance of following the 10 Commandments and the Golden Rule, and to give back to the community. He said, I can't impact the whole world, but I can do good deeds, and hopefully when I help someone else, I tell them they've got to go help 3 more people. And through that, the world will be a better place.